Charles Taylor, the wickedest, they say, of all. He sent out a message, says, if you guys don't elect me, Liberia will be a bloodbath. That's the message, he said. And people were so scared along the way. So scared. Sure enough, elections are held. Charles Taylor becomes president. He's elected. And he gets into the executive mansion. And he surrounds himself with all these guys that he's been with in the bush. Remember that kid I told you about, the 300-pound, 6'4" guy? Max Ferry and Jiba? By the time I met him later on, he had changed his name to, because all these guys had what they call nom de guerres, war names that they call themselves, titles. So Max Ferry and Jiba had now become Bulldog. Perfect description. That's exactly what he looked like. He was inside the presidential mansion as the guy in charge of what they call the ATU, the anti-terrorist unit. That was Jiba. There was another guy, short, slim built, quiet, hardly ever spoke. His name was, I know his nickname was 50. Benjamin Yetan was his name. Benjamin Yetan. Quiet. He never spoke. Always next to Taylor. When you saw Taylor on any press briefing or press conference, Benjamin was right there next to him. His code name was 50. I actually once asked the guys, why do they call him 50? They said, in the first battle, because he started off with Taylor from the beginning. His first battle, he killed 50 men. First battle. When Taylor would go to sleep, 50 would be sleeping right on the floor in the same room. That's how much Taylor trusted that guy, and vice versa. There were others with ridiculous names. There was a guy we met in the field called General Cuckoo Dennis. And we asked, why do they call him General Cuckoo Dennis? He said, because the guy's cuckoo. Every time he kills a rebel, he slits open the chest, pulls out the heart, and drinks the warm blood before it gets cold. The warm blood. That way, according to General Cuckoo Dennis, he would possess his enemy. Can you imagine? Ridiculous. I met a guy called Mosquito and all kinds of Terminator, all kinds of crazy names. Liberia. Remember that country that was peaceful for 150 years? Had now spiraled into violence and death and destruction and despair. It was horrible. And Taylor in the middle of it all. So there we are back then, 2003. And things are getting ugly because now there's another new rebel movement calling itself LURD, Liberians United for Reform and Democracy, LURD. They are now saying, you know what, Taylor has to go. He's been there 6 years and change. He hasn't done anything. We're going to attack the mansion. And they started making their way. Making it slowly. And we're on the ground, we're reporting. And I tell you, man, what? So many people were killed in that. Bodies again in the streets. It seems like a cyclical thing. Every few years, rebels invade, they storm the city, and they kill a lot of people. In the end, cut a long story short, President Olusegun Obasanjo, remember my friend from Nigeria? He arrives in Monrovia, holds talks with Taylor, has a press conference, and he says, President Taylor has agreed to come to Nigeria in exile. And the world is stunned. And we're there, we're reporting live. What? He's agreed. He's going to come to Liberia. President Obasanjo has given him exile status. All this news is relayed. The rebels obviously don't believe it. And they keep pounding the city. One day, we're reporting in the streets, and I get a call from a place called White, goodness, I forget the name of the mansion. It was President Taylor's residence. White Flower, they called it. White Flower was the president's residence in a place called Congo Town. He calls me, he says, Jeff, where are you? I said, I'm in the streets, Mr. President. I'm here filming. He says, come over to White Flower. I make my way. It's about August the 6th or the 7th in 2003. We make our way. And he says, as we make out, we go there, we find him in the courtyard with his phalanx of bodyguards. And he says, hey, man, I hear it's nasty out of the street. I says, yeah, Mr. President, that's why we're wearing bulletproof flak jackets. And he says, look, all this talk about me leaving and going to Nigeria, I want the world to know that it is true. I want you to tell the world, I am going to leave. I'm sick and tired of fighting all these enemies. I'm going to leave for the sake of peace. Exclusive. We put that out. It's aired all over the world. Taylor's going to leave. Sure enough, he announced the date, August 11th, and we were there reporting live as he stood there in the executive mansion saying, God permit, I will be back. He said that those are his last words before leaving. Got to the airport, got on a plane that was chartered by the Nigerian president, ended up in Nigeria, a place called Cross River State. That's where he would be for another 2, 3, 4 years in exile. Liberia now, elections are held. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a seasoned United Nations employee, she was running against a young upstart, kid who grew up in the slums, but made his name in the football fields of AC Milan, Chelsea, and many others. George Weah. Can you imagine? A kid from the slums was running against a seasoned United Nations diplomat. Sure enough, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf won. I think George must have been convinced to just take it easy for a while because Liberia was coming out of a very tumultuous place. He surrendered the president. Ellen Johnson was elected. She did 2 terms. And in the meantime, Weah went to school, got a degree, came back, ran as senator first, got a little bit of experience, and he was the one elected to succeed Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We were actually in Liberia in July 2019 on the Independence Day, the 1847 to 172nd anniversary of the country's independence. And there was George Weah. And he and I had, we knew each other from back in the day. And, we got to interview him a little later on. But that's where Liberia had come to. In the meantime, Charles Taylor has agreed to come to Nigeria rather. He's in exile. He's there for